You're very welcome along to the Matchbook Football Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Hussey, and delighted to welcome Mark O'Hare and Adrian Clarke after, I would say, a decent enough tipping performance Champions League. Adrian, we tend to we want to move on as best we can, but I do like the long shots. A lot of people were supporting it, to be fair, beforehand, and then we got a couple of nice messages on social. Liverpool, both teams to score now. Who'd have thought?
I know, yeah, sometimes a hunch does come good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I just felt it might galvanise the group, and that they'd pulled together, and it was a really good collective performance, wasn't it? I mean, it wasn't a vintage game, but it got the job done, and our bet landed at a lovely price. So happy days, except for the fact, of course, I forgot to back it, which is often the case.
Yeah. I saw your tweet all right on that. But yeah, fair play, and we'll have plenty more long shots and plenty more disagreements. Mark and Adrian went head to head, not just in that game, but throughout. And I do my best to get them as far apart as possible, even though they're by and large on the same angles in these games. But 4 games, Tyne-Wear Derby, Sunderland, Newcastle, Liverpool, Brighton, Crystal Palace versus Manchester City, and Brentford versus Leeds. So 4 decent games we're going to cover. Busy Sunday rather than Saturday this weekend. But before we go, we do get a lot of new viewers each and every week. If you're new to the Matchbook betting exchange and you'd like to try the exchange, you get the best possible price. We're betting to around 100% over round, but you can, of course, also do bet builder options. The guys cover a good side of both, I think, throughout the podcast, and that's what we're looking for from both of them, and inside.matchbook.com if you want to follow them in. But if you want that new Matchbook account, bonus code is POD50, POD50, and you get £50 worth in free bets when you bet £50. Now, very much looking forward to this. Mark O'Hare, Sunderland versus Newcastle. I mean, set this up for us. This is the biggest one in years, isn't it? Am I missing something?
No, you're not. It's the first Premier League meeting for nearly a decade between these two teams. Wow. So, it is one of the great derbies, I think, not just in England or Britain, across the globe, really. There's always real sort of raw emotion and passion from both teams. And, being the first league meeting for quite some time, I think it's going to be feisty. And that is reflected in the card lines, where you'll need to back a line around over 5.5 to get an odds against payout. I think it's probably worth starting on cards here, actually, because there were 6 when these two met in the FA Cup back in 2024, I think it was. 5 in the last Premier League meeting. But I went through the head-to-head records for cards, 11 game sample, which goes back quite some time now. The card totals read 6, 5, 4, 7, 8, 4, 2, 5, 6, 12, 7. So an average of 6 cards per game, which is kind of where the line is. We got a referee appointment of Peter Banks, who I think is a positive appointment. He has produced at least 4 cards in 6 of 11 Premier League games, 5 or more in 5 of those 11 as well. And it does feel like this game could go off and should go off. So that's where I'm starting. I'm going to use over 3.5 cards as a bit of a foundation for a bet builder. It feels pretty safe considering it's landed in 10 of the last 11 meetings between these two teams. 4 of Sunderland's 7 at the Stadium of Light have featured at least 5 cards. They've hit multiple cards themselves in 5 of 7. Newcastle matches tend to be a little bit softer, but you look at the individuals in that team, plenty of players you know or who do know how to mix it. So, I'm going to partner over 3.5 cards alongside Sunderland double chance. So Sunderland not to lose. It pays 2.05. I feel Sunderland are slightly underrated in this match by the market. Obviously, the underlying metrics haven't been particularly impressive this season, hence their price as 3.45 underdogs here. This match, however, they are still unbeaten at the Stadium of Light, 7 games, which includes matches against Arsenal and Villa. They've, of course, been to Chelsea and won. They've picked up a point away at Palace as well. Crucially, they have had a full week to rest, prepare for arguably their biggest game of the season. They are going to be pumped for this. And Ronaldo should be back, fit and available. There's not too many selection issues or concerns to worry us here. My only concern is keeping the discipline, which is obviously going to be difficult in a derby environment. However, compare and contrast with Newcastle, who have been going reasonably well results-wise in the Premier League, made very heavy work, though, in the second half against Burnley. 3 league wins and 4 unbeaten was overdue, but their away record is still real cause for concern. 4 away wins in 17 across Premier League and Champions League games since January. And of course, they're involved in Wednesday night Champions League action away at Leverkusen, where I wasn't massively impressed by what I saw. Picked a really strong side in Germany. Joe Linton went off injured, and they looked really leggy and lethargic. was sort of aided in their sort of goal output in that game by some dreadful defending by the home side. But yeah, they've only kept 1 clean sheet in 10 Premier League matches, which means they're having to score multiple goals to win games. And so, yeah, when you're conceding goals regularly, it just makes them quite unappealing to win sort of sub 2.4 away at Sunderland. They've only scored twice or more in 4 of 17 on their travels, and Sunderland have scored at least twice in 5 of 7 at home. I'm not expecting this to be a goal-heavy game. Being a derby game, both teams will be really keen to not lose first and foremost, and but I do think cards will flow, and I think Sunderland are just being a little bit underrated. So it's my way of kind of getting cards on side and Sunderland too. So 2.05 Sunderland double chance and over 3.5 cards.
Okay, a couple of interesting angles there. Adrian, you're going a little bit different in terms of you do like the goals rather that you're going to stay away from the match odds altogether.
Yeah. I don't know who's going to win. I wouldn't be against what Mark's just said there. I think Sunderland's home record speaks for itself, and yeah, with Newcastle having a busy schedule at the moment, it's a tough game for them. It really is. I couldn't have been more impressed by Sunderland when they played Arsenal. They were terrific in that game, and that's not the only match at the Stadium of Light where they've really mixed it physically and caused big problems for opponents. You know, tactically, Régis Le Bris, he's good. He's really smart, and I think it's a good matchup actually between him and Eddie Howe. So yeah, look, Sunderland double chance absolutely has a chance of landing. I'm not totally sold on the fact that Newcastle can't go there and win though. That's my issue. You know, they are still a quality side. They've got better players, and yeah, they might rock up there and turn them over. I like both teams to score as my sort of primary angle here. Sunderland will push for goals. You know, even if they're trailing the game, they keep pushing, and they'll put balls into the box. They'll ask questions. 5 of Sunderland's home games this season have seen both teams score. Sunderland themselves have scored in every home game to this point, and they've actually got 2 or more goals in 5 of their 7 home games as well. So, you know, they're really confident on home turf, and I think they'll be delighted to be back out there on Wearside for this particular game. Newcastle aren't exactly watertight. Not many clean sheets of late or this season. Well, since early on in the season where they did grind out a few nil-nillers. 10 of 15 Newcastle games have seen both teams score, and that includes 9 of the last 10. So 9 of the last 10 Newcastle games, BTTS has landed for us. So I'm going in on that. And I too like cards. It's the obvious angle, I think, here, given the derby, given the context of the game. And actually, both sets of players are pretty aggressive. I think we know that. But, and it's a little bit left field, not left field, but it maybe goes against the grain. While I do agree with Mark that they're sure to be cards, I don't necessarily subscribe to the theory that it's going to be carnage. Not many games do go that way. And I often think with derbies, the referee, the man in the middle, is very aware of what this game means, and I often feel that good referees, if they referee it properly, will allow play to go on a little bit more because it to be physical, and maybe the threshold might be a touch higher than normal. Peter Banks is the ref, as Mark said. Now, he does average 4 cards a game, but I was really impressed with his performance actually again in the Villa-Arsenal game, because that was a physical game. It was really aggressive from both teams, and he let play go on really nicely. It allowed it to become an end-to-end game. I think he only dished out 2 yellow cards, and other referees might have gone a bit card crazy there. So that's in my thinking here. I want to pair both teams to score with under 6.5 cards. Now, I think that this has got a great chance of landing under 6.5 cards. The ref himself has gone under that in 9 of 11. Only 2 games. He had a crazy spell where he was dishing out cards for fun in September. Apart from that, he's been relatively lenient, I would say, in recent games. He's also ref Newcastle 3 times this season, Peter Banks, and dished out a grand total of 1 yellow card to Newcastle players. So I think there will be cautions, of course there will be, but not 7 or more is what I'm banking on here. And I do think both teams will score. So you put that together, it comes in at 2.15.
Okay, jump from around 179 to 215, and I'll be honest, Adrian made a great case for the under 6.5 cards, but we've been burned a couple of times. My own fault for the bet builder. This is the podcast money back. Bet builder, bet £10 and get your money back as a free bet if it loses. And I try and combine the two guys' picks. I made a mess of it the last couple of weeks, putting in the wrong selection from both ways. So I take responsibility, and I'm going to go the overs because they're easier to support, if nothing else. Sunderland double chance, both teams to score, and over 3.5 cards. That's very close to 2-1, 3.0. That's 2.9 at the time of recording. Full T's and C's on insights.matchbook.com. And that's where you can see each and every week our podcast money back special. We see a lot of people taking advantage of that. Liverpool versus Brighton. Adrian, no better place to start than yourself. Like, dug it out in Europe, the post-Salah era, well, we think gets off to a good start. But this is a different sort of test. These are the games they're struggling to win at the moment, which is why they're so far back in the league.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really hard game to call, I would suggest, because who knows what Liverpool are going to produce here. Brighton as well are a very sort of hit and miss team. My instinct is to go for goals because the fixture has a history of it. It really does. The last 6 meetings in all competitions have seen both teams score. Brighton take it to Liverpool. Time and time again, they cause Liverpool big problems. 9 of 10 meetings between these two sides have gone over 2.5 goals. 5 have gone over 3.5. Brighton are always good value in this particular match. And look, they tend to score and concede as well, don't they? Under Fabian Hürzeler, 73% of Brighton's games seen both teams score land, 60% for Liverpool. Liverpool matches have been generally quite high scoring this season. 10 of their 15 have gone over 2.5. 9 of 15 for Brighton. So I like goals. I think Brighton will be kind of positive opponents, which lends itself to a little bit more of an end-to-end game. Brighton might back themselves, I think, under Hürzeler to be aggressive and to get after Liverpool and try and prey on their weaknesses, and that will, I suspect, it will also leave big gaps, and Brighton might be in trouble at the wrong end of the pitch. It could be a game where Liverpool get themselves a few goals. So that's one part, over 2.5, and then I'm like, well, which way do I go? Because I like Brighton on the handicap. If you back them +1 or whatnot, because I think they'll be competitive in the game, but this is Liverpool at Anfield. Despite being rotten all season, they have only lost at Anfield in the Premier League against Man United and against Nottingham Forest. So they have avoided defeat in 5 games. They've been off it in nearly all of them. And of course, they come into it boosted, don't they, by that really good win against Inter Milan in the Champions League. I can't fully trust them, but I can get on board with Liverpool double chance in any match at Anfield, despite what's going on at the moment. And Brighton did, I know they won at Chelsea, but they did get beat at Man U, at Everton, at Bournemouth, right? And they're not exactly away day kings. Defended pretty poorly as well against Aston Villa. So I just think in a bit of a shootout, Liverpool won't get beat here. So Liverpool double chance, over 2.5 goals, 183.
Okay, as producer Rob said, it's mad now. Nowadays, you can get Liverpool double chance, throw a couple of goals in, and a backable price pops up on screen.
Yeah, that's the reason I'm going for it, because it's not often you get these kind of odds.
Yeah, and Mark, so Liverpool's price on the Match with Betting Exchange, and without looking at odds check, I reckon it's the best out there. 174, because we're betting to a 100.2% at the time of recording. You want to take on that price more or less, but with a little bit more security as well.
Yeah. Adrian said it. Can we sort of trust? I've trust issues with Liverpool still. Yes, it was a much improved performance at Inter. Yes, it was a much improved performance in the first half at Leeds as well, since they sort of moved to this sort of diamond midfield, had a bit more security down the middle in front of the defence. But I kind of go back to when Liverpool looked really good and impressive and beat Real Madrid at Anfield, and I thought, Liverpool are back. Then they went to Man City and were appalling. Then they were ripped to shreds by Forest and PSV Eindhoven at Anfield in back-to-back games. So I'm still not yet ready to believe that they are back. And whilst there have been promising signs, it is still 5 wins in 16. It is still just 2 wins in 7 at Anfield, with 3 of those 7 teams going to Anfield and scoring at least 3 goals. That's quite concerning for me. And yeah, I am keen to get Brighton on side with that +1 start at 179. Liverpool have to beat them by 2 clear goals at least to see that bet lose. And there's a few reasons why I want to be with Brighton on that handicap line. First of all, their remarkable hit rate of scoring away from home. They've scored in 23 of 26 away Premier League games under Fabian Hutzler. State the obvious, if they score at Anfield, Liverpool need at least 3 goals for this bet to lose. That's quite a big hurdle to overcome, regardless of opposition. I've been quite improved by their own sort of tactical evolution away from home recently, going away to Forest and Palace, being much more cautious in their approach, keeping back-to-back clean sheets. And yeah, I think tactically this match will suit them much more than playing a deep block like West Ham. Brighton, under Fabian Hutzler, have been much more effective when playing with less possession and being able to play in transitions than when being asked to sort of dominate the ball and break down opposition defences. And the numbers are quite astonishing, actually. I spent a long time on this on Wednesday to make sure they were accurate, and they really are. So this is demonstrated in the data. When we look at their win record, they've won twice in 9 this season with 50% of the ball or more. They've won 4 of 6 with less than 50% of the ball. And this isn't a new craze. Last season, 6 wins in 23 when having 50% of the ball or more, compared to 10 wins in 15 with 49% of the ball or less. So since the start of last season, that's 8 from 32 wins with 50% or more of the ball, compared to 14 wins from 21 with less than 50%. So a 25% win rate compared to 67%. And what is really, really quite astonishing, they've lost once in 21 games when having less of the ball than their opposition. Who are top of the possession statistics in the Premier League this season? It's Liverpool. So I'm going to follow those numbers and oppose them, back Brighton with the +1 start, backing them to score here at Anfield, knowing Liverpool will then require 3 goals for this bet to lose. And sorry, I should have said as well, they have played 10 games against Liverpool, Arsenal and Man City under Fabian Hutzler. They're averaging 16 shots per game and 1.78 expected goals per game in those 10 fixtures against the best 3 teams under Fabian Hutzler's tutorship. Outrageous output. So yeah, I think they can score here, and if they do, I think it'll be quite hard for them to lose that handicap start. But yeah, Liverpool might be back, and I might look silly at the end of it. So, with all that data in mind, I'm quite happy to be with them with the +1 start.
Yeah, but Brighton, that West Ham game doesn't suit Brighton at all. I watched that for 90 minutes and it was just Brighton passing the ball from side to side until the 90th minute. They somehow managed to get the goal. But Asian handicap market is what Mark's betting on there. We are putting that explainer video in the comments if you do want to go through exactly what an Asian handicap bet is, because it is the most common question we get here on Matchbook. And moving on to Crystal Palace versus Manchester City. Back to you, Adrian. Madrid City last night. City managed to get a brilliant win for them. And when I asked you this before the Madrid game, are they clicking into gear in terms of the amount of goals they're scoring, and maybe just conceding 1 or 2 in the back, or where are we at with City?
I don't know. Look, I was working on the Arsenal Club Brugge game, so I haven't seen that game in its entirety. But it's a cracking result, and it's a really, it's a good solid away performance. I've criticised Man City for not being able to go away to good teams and get victories on a consistent basis. Well, they've done that there, haven't they, at the Bernabeu? So that'll give this sort of new look City team a real lift. And I think that's the key, really. It's got a fresher feel, hasn't it, this season? There's a lot of players that maybe haven't been involved in previous campaigns. So, yeah, I like the way that they're going, to be fair. I mean, this will be a hard game. Of course it will, Chris. Away from home, but yeah, they're in a good spot at the moment, and they're certainly smelling blood with Arsenal, aren't they? I think this will be a tight game. I really do, because Crystal Palace matches tend to be fairly low scoring, don't they? They've got the second best defensive record in the division. Crystal Palace, a really settled 11. They just don't make changes to the back line. Except for in this game, they have to, because Daniel Munoz is out for a few weeks, actually. So that's a bit of a blow. Klein came in the other day and did well, actually. But it could be a little bit disruptive. And I do feel like they're creaking a little bit, Crystal Palace. I know that they've had a couple of wins, but you look at the squad, obviously Sarr has been out. There are question marks over whether he will be fit enough to return for the game. We've got Shelbourne tonight, of course, in the Conference League. Mateta has been carrying one or two niggles as well. So there's, he's regarded as a doubt. I'm sure he'll play. But they're not exactly at full strength at the moment. And Glasner has kind of overplayed a lot of the guys. And there is that danger, of course, of getting a little bit jaded at this sort of busy time of the year. And I've just got a feeling that Palace might struggle a little bit this weekend. They get a day's less rest, of course, as well. They've not played Palace, anyone in the top 5 yet, or not the current top 5 anyway, at Selhurst Park. And they're still only won 2 of 7 at home. So it's having a great season. They're in 4th, but in 5 of their 7 home games, and none of them against the top teams, they haven't won. So I'm happy to go Man City double chance here, back them to either win or draw the game. A draw is definitely a player here. They've won 5 of their last 6 in the Premier League as well, haven't they? Manchester City. And I quite like under 3.5 goals for the reasons outlined. Palace, they're really good without the ball. They don't give up that many chances. And City, I think we'll see this as a really tough game. We've seen City Palace games in the past that have been quite tight and quite cagey. And I think this one might be another one. But against... So City have actually been involved in a lot of high-scoring games. We've seen that lately with Fulham, and they've given up a lot of chances. But actually, against the better teams, top 12 teams, I'm going to sort of bunch them together. Against the top 12 this season, all 9 of City's matches have gone under 3.5. So they've sort of cut loose and had a bit of fun against the weaker teams. Against the stronger ones, there's been a more considered approach from Manchester City, and I think they'll respect Crystal Palace in this game. So yeah, under 3.5 goals for me, and City not to lose. So City double chance. That's my selection.
Okay, yeah, I do like it, to be fair. I wasn't aware of Palace's home record there, Mark. You just assume it's been really good. Every time I watch them, it's a fortress, but probably too many draws in there on a Sunday after Conference League games.
Yeah, they are away day specialists under Ole Glasner. They are winless after European action this season. I think that stat was trotted out about 20 times in their game against Man United on the TV commentary. But really intriguing game this. Talking about commentators, I watched the Man City Real Madrid game on TNT Sports on Wednesday night, and Darren Fletcher and Ali McCoist were quite, I felt, harsh on Real Madrid in that game. They were deeply disappointed by what they saw, whereas the reality was a Real Madrid team absolutely crippled by injuries defensively and missing Mbappe, and they still managed to conjure up numerous chances. And I think if Mbappe plays, or the last pass, the last decision-making moment, the last finish, it really let them down, Real Madrid. They could easily have got something out of that game. I didn't think Man City were the dominant team that they led us to believe by the way in which they were sort of calling that game in the last 20 minutes. It happened on countless occasions. Real Madrid got themselves into great positions and fluffed their lines, but that's a different debate. Anyway, talking about Crystal Palace, they of course won the last matchup with Man City in the FA Cup final, and their last meeting at Selhurst ended in a draw with Man City 2. And I think they can be really awkward opposition for City this weekend. They have been winless after European action. I'm not going to back them to win. I'm going to back them to draw in this game because I think the price at 4.1 is worth taking. The Man United match, the last time they played after European commitments, they played on the Thursday away at Strasbourg, had a midday start on the Sunday. They did look very leggy, very fatigued, conceded 2 set-piece goals, but I didn't think they deserved to lose on balance of play. I thought they were very good in that first half, actually, against United, and 2 really poor goals to concede, lost them the game. This week, they're in Dublin to face Shelbourne on Thursday, arguably their softest test in European commitments. Then they play Man City. And Ole Glasner has already said he's going to rotate all 11 players, not against Shelbourne, I don't think, but in next week's European commitments. So he will be putting extra emphasis on this match. He'll be aware of the heavy schedule. I'm not sure it can be used the same way negatively this time around. Strasbourg was a really tough game in Europe compared to Shelbourne. So the facts are this team are in the top 6. They've only lost 3 times this season in the Premier League. They're ranked 5th on expected points, which is actually a very slight underperformance based on what they've been producing. It's 5 losses in 32. and they have competed and beaten almost all of the big hitters in this country in that time as well. Tactically, it's interesting to note 17 of the last 20 league wins have come with less than 50% of possession. So yeah, I think they're going to be awkward opposition here, even without Muniz. I liked what they did last week. Klein didn't get forward as much, but Nketiah and Mateta dovetailed quite nicely. Pino played a little bit more sort of a left central midfielder role, and it's kind of worked pretty well for them. But yeah, I think Glasner is the type of coach who can concoct a tactical plan to make life difficult for City, who are looking excellent in the final third, but I still think they are gettable in these tough big games. So since the start of 23-24, a title-winning season, including last season and this season, they've won 6 times in 21 trips to top half teams and kept only 3 clean sheets. Their last win against a top half team away from home was Chelsea on match day 1 of last season, and Palace under Glasner at home to top half teams are 7-7-5. So 5 defeats in 19, and only Arsenal have already put them to the sword in that time. I think it was at 5-1 last season at Selhurst. So yeah, I could back Palace with a half-goal start here around about evens or a bit of odds against, actually. But no, I'm going to back the draw at 4.1 on the Matchbook Exchange. 7 draws in Palace's 19 home games against top half teams under Ollie Glasner. City don't draw often, but they don't win often away at big teams either. So yeah, going to back the draw at a big price.
Okay, yeah, seems pretty big price, 4.1. We'll move on to Brentford versus Leeds, and back to you, Mark, on this one. You're landing on the same bet you had for Brentford. Burnley, which was from memory now 0-0 with 10 minutes to go, or very close to, and somehow cleaned up on the overs. So it just shows you when you back the overs, you're always in the game. That's the psychology of it. Unders could be done after 5 minutes, but the overs, 90th minute, you still have a shot at it.
Yeah. That was a bit of a get out of jail, really. But I think the balance of play, we were expecting goals, and eventually the floodgates opened against Burnley. I sort of dodged back in Brentford at odds-on quotes that day. I'm going to do the same again on Sunday. I think Leeds command a bit more respect from the market, and whilst Brentford have been incredibly impressive at the GTEC this season, especially so considering their schedule, I'd much rather back over 2.5 goals, which is trading at 1.9. The Premier League has been a goal-heavy league this season. 57% of overall matches have gone over 2.82 goals per game. It sort of typify a typical Premier League match. Over 2.5 goals would be sort of a blanket price around 175. We're getting 1.9 here. And it just looks like goals. It feels like goals. Smells like goals. So why not back goals at nearly even money? I'm not really sure how we're getting to this price. I'm certainly not with my numbers. Brentford obviously lost back-to-back away games, but they've been at their best at home. There is no Kevin Schade. He's banned. But other than that, this is a team who scored 3 goals themselves in 4 of their 7 home games, 2.14 goals per game, averaging just shy of 1.6 non-penalty XG in front of their own supporters. And get this, despite the schedule, only Man City have carved out more big chances at home than Brentford, 27 in 7 games. Incredibly impressive. But defensively, just the 2 clean sheets under Keith Andrews as well. So you look at those 7 games at the GTEC, 5 went over 3.5, 5 saw both sides score. I'm expecting something similar on Sunday. Leeds obviously buoyant after what was a great week for Daniel Farke, on the verge of the sack, and then he pulls a rabbit out of the hat at half-time at Man City, switches formation, goes 3-5-2, goes quite aggressive, quite physical, quite direct. They win the second half against Man City. They beat Chelsea, draw with Liverpool, and score 8 goals in those 2.5 games. It kind of makes me wonder why they weren't playing this way for a lot longer, because in the summer, if you remember, they recruited a load of really big physical giants, but then still kind of went back to playing tippy-tappy out from the back football with 2 nippy wingers. And there was promising performances in there, but not often getting the results they probably deserve. But they definitely have done in the last week or so. So, yeah, they'll be going to Brentford confident. And in terms of the overs, it has landed in 10 of their last 11 league games. Both teams have scored in 9 of those. And their last 5, 4 of them have gone over 3.5 goals. So, yeah, over 2.5 goals, trading not far off even money, is one of my better bets of the weekend in the Premier League. I think it's a great line and a great price.
Okay, comprehensive case for the over 2.5 goals. And Adrian, a little bit tactical question, just Brentford in general. They got the win against Burnley. How does Keith Andrews shift that, great performances at home against big teams and just the nature of the schedule? Now they're playing a lot of teams that they're going to be favoured, 2-0-2 Brentford to win the game. How does he go about tweaking that formation?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, yeah, they can't go as direct because they're going to have a lot more of the ball, aren't they? So yeah, they're going to have to ask a little bit more of their fullbacks maybe to join in on the sort of overlaps, because they're very good at soaking up pressure and then striking hard and fast, aren't they? And Igor Thiago and Sharda, who's obviously missing this weekend, they're good at that. Look, they just got to find a different way, but they're doing all right, aren't they? They're doing fantastic. They ended up scoring 3 goals against Burnley, and I think they can score goals against Leeds as well. Yeah, it will have to be a slight tactical tweak, but it depends what Leeds do. If they want to be positive, they might take the fight to Brentford, which in turn could play into their hands. So let's see how it plays out. I think Mark's onto something with the goals for sure. I was thinking along the same lines. I'm more bullish on Brentford and less. I fancy Leeds less than Mark. They've done great. It's been a good run, but Ellen Road, their performances at Ellen Road are very different to their performances away from home. And look, they were getting battered at City. It's easy to start playing and start going for it when you're 3 down. So, or 2 down rather. So I think. I also think that could have taken a bit out of them, the emotional sort of energy used up in those big performances, and this would be a very different type of game. And Farke's teams, I've seen a lot of them down the years, and never good at defending set pieces. They might have some big guys, but they're just not good at them. They never have been. The record's pretty poor over time. This year is not disgraceful, but they're among the highest in terms of set piece concessions, 7. And for me, Brentford are great at it. Whether it's a corner, a free kick, or a long throw, they're really, really dangerous. And I think that is an avenue that they will certainly target Leeds on in the game. So yeah, Brentford, the home record, Mark spelled it out. 5 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat. Played a load of good teams. Have scored 15 goals. They're easy to like, and I think after sort of 2 losses in North London to Arsenal and Spurs, they'll be buzzing to be back home in those sort of comfortable surroundings. Leeds on the road are pretty poor. They've conceded at least twice in all but 1 away game, and that was the 1-0 defeat at Fulham. They've lost 6 of 7 on the road, and they've blanked in 4 of those 7. And I know they've changed tactics. I know they've changed formation, but a lot of body of work there to suggest that they can consistently be trusted away from home. There's no less. So I just think Brentford, I'm surprised I can back them at this price is what I'm saying here, given how good their home record is, how poor Leeds away record is. You can get Brentford to 1.5 goals. So it's anything but a 1-0 at 2.36. And that's a jump from 2.02 for Brentford on the nose. I think it's a decent enough price on Brentford, and that's why I'm backing them.
Okay, fascinating to see how that game plays. As I said at the top of the show, .matchbook.com, you can get a full recap of all the guys' picks. And Mark, you're taking on Juventus once again. They eventually got the 2 goal against Pavos. We got some profit there, but I'm guessing this is an anti-Juventus angle, and you feel the price is right on Bologna at 2.05.
It's an anti-Juventus price angle. I'm nothing against Juve at all, to be honest. If they're the right price, they're a bet, but they're not. And this is a really tough game for them, going away to Bologna on Sunday. It should be a good game. They've been priced up as to win away from home, and that's just not for me at all. Something I have to oppose. Bologna 0.0 on the Asian handicap, the same as draw no bet, is paying 2.1 on the Matchbook Exchange right now. Important to have the draw on side because 6 of the last 7 meetings between these 2 teams have ended in draws, and this one will go close again. But I can't be having Bologna as outsiders at home. This team has been beaten just 4 times this season and lost just once in 15 since the start of last season, I should say. And only once at home all season across all competitions. Look at Serie A. They've lost 3 of 25 at home since the start of last term. The 3 defeats came when they were priced up at 1.5 or shorter. So, I think of all the Italian big guns that have been here over the past 12 to 15 months and failed to win, Napoli have already been beaten here this season. Bologna under Italiano are quickly gaining a reputation as he is quickly gaining a reputation as one of the brightest minds in Italian football. I'll be astonished if he's not picked up by a bigger club in the next 12 months. He absolutely adores the underdog role, so I'm sure he'll make life very tough for a Juventus team that were beaten at Napoli last weekend and have only won 3 of 10 away games this season. They've only won 9 away league games since the start of last season, and they were odds-on favourites to win in 7 of those, 2.3 and 2.1 favourites in the other 2. They are 266 to win here away at Bologna. It's over 2 years since Juventus last won an away Serie A game at that kind of price or bigger. They weren't overly appealing in terms of how they beat Bodo, Cremonese, Cagliari, or Paphos in midweek. So I don't think they'll find this particularly straightforward at all. And I'm happy to be with Bologna. Obviously, the quarter goal start is very backable, very appealing, but we're getting odds against their start, which is just too big to ignore.
0-0 start, effectively draw, no bet, of course. Adrian, 2 selections starting the Championship. Sheffield United away to West Brom is the first one.
Friday night as well, so don't miss it. Don't assume it's on Saturday. Yeah, look, it's interesting matchup. This Sheffield United have absolutely turned the corner. 4 wins, 2 draws in their last 6. We all know they had a horrific start to the campaign. They sacked their manager. Chris Wilder came back in. It was a very mixed bag for a while, but it feels like they're in the groove now, and they're going to a West Brom team and in a lot of goals, and their manager Ryan Mason, in his first job, of course, he's under pressure. I don't think the fans are sold on him particularly, and I can see Sheffield United rocking up here with a bit of a swagger and causing them problems. I really can. A lot of their forward players are in the goals at the moment. Danny Ings scored the other day. Patrick Bamford is there at the moment, and I thought he practically retired, Patrick Bamford, but he's at Sheffield United and he's flying. He's scoring goals. He's making chances. Tom Cannon's flying. Gus Harmer is suddenly looking like the player he was last year. Sidney Peck is getting goals from midfield as well. There's a lot to like about Sheffield United of late. They've also scored 12 goals in their last 5 away games. West Brom, they are unbeaten at home in 6, but the defence is wobbly. They've conceded 3 in each of their last 2 games. They've conceded multiple goals in 6 of their last 12. It's a bit wobbly for me. And I think if Sheffield get off to a flyer here, things could get a little bit awkward for Ryan Mason and West Brom, who are really, and I mean really, reliant on the goals of Hegebo up front. He's the only guy really scoring goals at the moment. If he's not on it, you don't know where they're coming from. So I like Sheffield United on the handicap here, or the Asian handicap, with a quarter goal start. So it means, they have to lose for us to lose money. Sheffield United plus a quarter is at 183. And yeah, I fancy them to win the game.
Yeah, you can see it on screen. It's half your bet on plus 0.0, which is drawn about half your bet on double chance, which is plus 0.5. Yeah, I don't follow any West Brom fans on Twitter, and I've seen a number of Ryan Mason out tweets, so that would probably tell you when that reaches my timeline, the days are numbered. And whisper quietly, Sheffield United 8 points off the playoffs. But Adrian's second selection, Chesterfield versus Barnet. I would describe both these teams as the recent draw specialists.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm doing. That's why I'm going for it. It's purely numbers based. It's got to be done. I think Chesterfield versus Barnet. The draw is 3.45, which I guess is quite a shortish price for a draw, but the numbers are pretty strong. Barnet have drawn 5 of their last 6 matches in League Two. They did win against Bristol Rovers last time out, but 5 of their last 6 have been drawn. Chesterfield have drawn 5 of their last 7 matches. League Two, have a look at it. It's draw-tastic. I mean, in the Premier League, it's quite unusual often to see a draw. But in the League Two, for some reason, the teams are drawing for fun at the moment. And all of Chesterfield's draws, by the way, have been both teams to score. There have been 8 overall for Chesterfield, which is a league high. Barnet have had 7 draws overall. 6 of those have seen both teams score as well. So look, there's a lot of 1-alls in there, and I wouldn't put anyone off of going for a 1-aller there. But just to be on the safe side, a draw at 3.45 would absolutely continue a trend for both Chesterfield and Barnet. So when they collide, we'll either lose, hopefully not.
Okay, I can see a lot of people putting in all their home bankers on their coupon and then throwing in the draw banker, which is Chesterfield versus Barnet, given some of those numbers you've outlined there. Long shot time, Mark. Hit us with your both teams to score 4-fold. This is across a number of countries, so yeah, I'll leave the rest to you, mate.
Yeah, I think it's like good fun, isn't it, to support some of these little hackers. Gutted we didn't get the winner in midweek of the Champions League. I don't know if you saw the stats from that Monaco Galatasaray game. Travesty. There was only one goal in that match, but there we go. So yeah, a fourfold for Saturday, starting at 12:30, runs right across to Saturday evening. So hopefully we can have a bit of fun throughout the day. Starts in the Championship with Norwich versus Southampton. Obviously, Adrian and I were very strong on Norwich's trip to Watford, seeing both teams scoring. Landed before half-time last weekend. 20 games into the Championship season. Both teams have scored in 15 of Norwich's 20 and 16 of Southampton's 20. So you can see why I'm keen for a repeat there. Dip down into Scottish League 2, where Dumbarton host East Kilbride. 14 of Dumbarton's opening 15 have seen both sides score. It's 10 from 15 for East Kilbride, including 6 from 8 away, but in 29 of their combined 30 games. Next to the Netherlands, the Eredivisie for rock bottom Telstar, taking on third-placed NEC Nijmegen. NEC really sort of in uncharted territory towards the top end of the season, but they've been really fantastic to follow. 427 goals per game on average. 8 of their 15 games have featured at least 5 goals. 11 of those 15 seen both sides score, but away from home, it's 7 from 8, both teams to score winners. Telstar's home games have been good fun too. 6 of 8 have gone over. 7 of 8 have seen both teams score. 0 home clean sheets. So, yeah, both teams know where the back of the net is. And finally, a skip to Switzerland. Thun are playing second-placed St. Gallen. Big game. These two have scored in 33 of their combined 36 Super League games. But more importantly, both teams have score hit rates of 6 from 8 and 6 from 7 in their respective home and away fixtures this season. So games at Norwich, Dumbarton, Telstar and Thun. Both teams to score fourfold pays 5.7.
Okay, and inside SunMatchBet.com, you will see a recap of that bet if you missed it.
Or good numbers there, wasn't it?
Hard to argue when he gets going and he's in full flight like that, Adrian, as you well know. But the problem here, given this,
I could argue against it myself. Yeah.
On to your bet here, Adrian, and I would say Mark would argue this at any price, given it's Scott Parker and Burnley. So off you go, mate.
Look, I am no fan of Burnley, as you know, and look, I've
nobody is on this podcast.
I foresaw this rotten run that they're on of 6 straight losses. I've been backing against them week in, week out, and yeah, it's been paying off. But sometimes a price jumps out at you where you think, hang on a minute, has things gone a little bit too far here? Burnley are long outsiders to win at home to Fulham. It's Fulham. It's not Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City. It's Fulham. And Fulham, don't have an amazing away record. They've lost 5 of their 7 away games so far. And look, I just think it's a really big price on a home team, that are struggling, but they're up against a team with such a poor away record. This losing streak can't go on forever. Scott Parker up against his former club, Fulham, of course, will be very eager, I'm sure, to get his team revved up for it. And you shouldn't forget that Burnley have won at home a couple of times this season. They beat Sunderland 2-0, beat Leeds 2-0. They drew with Nottingham Forest as well, and they haven't been battered by anybody. And they've entertained, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Palace, and they got beat. But none of them blew them away. They were competitive. And I repeat, this is Fulham, a team that aren't defending well. We've seen that lately. Yes, they're often worth a goal, but, on the road, less so. They've conceded multiple goals in all 5 of their as well, Fulham. Couple of players missing, Sessegnon and Robinson down the left as well, missing. So there might be a bit of a reshuffle. That said, Carl Walker is missing for Burnley as well through suspension. So that's a pity for him. But yeah, I just think if there is a game Burnley can win, it might be this one, and I don't think Burnley are going to win many thrillers this season, particularly at Turf Moor. So I would go against goals. So Burnley and under 3.5 goals. So I'm looking at a 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, all come into play. That comes in at 5.2, and I think for a home team against such poor travellers, that isn't bad. So let's have a little tickle on it.
Okay, that's in the other tab on the Matchbook Betting Exchange rather than the Bet Builder. You can get 5.2. It's the jump from 4.2. Mark, write a reply. Is that 4.2 interest you at all in the match odds?
Do you know what? I'd rather back it than back Fulham odds on away from home.
2-2.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Okay.
yeah, it's a no bet game for me. But if I had to have something, I'd be pro Burnley rather than pro Fulham.
Yeah, we can't be laying Adrian's lobby at the poorhouse. Best bet time, Mark, for you. League On to seal the deal this weekend. It is your best bet on the card. Lens to win and under 4.5 goals.
Yeah, we opposed Nice last week on the long shot, and they lost 1-0 at home to Angers. Another very underwhelming effort. And yeah, the Ultras stayed away. So in a 30,000 capacity stadium, there was fewer than 8,000 in the ground. Those who stayed were booing and whistling the team as they lost 1-0. It's now 7 successive defeats across all comps. Thursday night, they have to play Braga in the Europa League. Not a lot of time to turn around before going away to the league leaders, Lens. Not really a huge amount to update on since last week. Boga and Moffey have had their leave extended, and Torre was sent off in that game against Angers as well, so he is now suspended. Very messy situation before going away to Lens. They've lost 4 of their last 5 against Lens and can score just 1 goal in that time. Lens, on the other hand, top of the table, not in Europe, full week to rest and prepare. They have been the story of the season so far in France. 11 wins from 15, including 8 from the last 9. 6 wins on the spin at home. Not the kind of team you want to play at when you're in a bit of a crisis, as Nice are right now. So Lens, understandably short here, about 1.5. So how do you play it? Include under 4.5 goals. For some reason, the market is expecting a bit of a shootout here. That's just not the way for Lens and their head coach, Pierre Sage. They are much more done. Only 2 of their games have featured 4 goals or more. Only 1 of them have featured 5 goals or more. So the combination pays 2.1, a nice price. In those 7 defeats for Nice, they've scored 4 goals. 6 of those 7 games have gone under 4.5 goals. The only game that didn't go under was the 5-1 thrashing at Marseille. Marseille and Roberto De Zerbi are pretty prone to being involved in matches that can escalate into a bit of a high-scoring shootouts. Lens just aren't that type. They're much more restrained and business-like. So, yeah, we've got the 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 2-1 or 3-1 onside at an odds against price. But yeah, just oppose Nice.
Okay, Mark is going to keep opposing Nice if the price is still there. And Adrian, final word to you. This is first versus 19th in League One, and Cardiff are absolutely flying. So, in fairness, when I looked at this price, I was surprised as well. 183.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I picked it as my best bet, and I think it will shrink. So, if anyone wants to get on board with it, I'd advise getting on it sooner rather than later. Look, the top of the league, Cardiff, got one of the strikers in Yusuf Salak that is probably too good for the level. He's proving a real handful. He's a physical striker, and they put balls into the box for him, and he's too good for League One defenders at the moment. So yeah, Cardiff flying. They've won 7 of 9 at home, scoring 22 goals. They've won 4 on the spin as well at the Cardiff City Stadium. In general, they've won 6 of their last 8. They're in great nick at the moment, Cardiff, gunning to win the title. Donny had a good start to the season, but have been absolute garbage for quite a while now. They've been sinking, week on week, and they're dropping towards the relegation zone, which is remarkable, really, given they were top at one point this season. Against top half teams on the road, terrible. Picked up 1 point in those matches, 6 matches away to top half sides, just the 1 point. And tellingly, they've scored 1 goal in those 6 away match opposition. So there's no track record of them going somewhere difficult and carrying a real goal threat. They've also lost 7 of their last 12 as well, Donny. So yeah, I just don't get why. If this was in the Premier League, this would be, I don't know, this would be like Arsenal playing against, I don't know, like almost a Burnley. Yeah, almost a Burnley, maybe a Leeds. Yeah. And it'd be Arsenal at home to Leeds. You wouldn't be able to get Arsenal at 1.83, would you? So I think Cardiff are a good price here.
Okay, yeah, trimmed a little bit, but now the exchange will push it out a little bit Friday morning. So I'm going to lock in 1.8. I think that will be in and around the price, but we will keep an eye on that. But yeah, very much still, I'd say value down to 1.7. Mark, quick final word on you just on those bets in general. I always think this is maybe a lazy opinion that if the price is big like that, it's maybe an expected goals thing. Is that the case here, or have you looked into it?
I have looked into it because it was going to be my second selection, and I saw Adrian had selected for his best bet. So hence why I only had one from any other business. I did all the prep yesterday.
Sorry, mate.
Stuff it's all right. Twice in 2 weeks you've done it now, AC, so I have to be faster next time. But yeah, a blistering start, but they've been god awful since mid-September. Doncaster. I've actually put in some reasonable performances data-wise in the last 6 weeks or so, but just not getting the results, and their record away from home and their record against the big teams in League One doesn't stack up. So yeah, expect Cardiff to bully them. That's a nice price.
Always ask one more question. There's a lesson in that. My thanks to Mark, Adrian. We've got a break again, started next week, but we will be back for our penultimate podcast previewing a weekend's action, and then we will have a special Christmas show. More details on that on social media, so stay tuned to our Twitter/X page, InsideStuffMatchBall.com. Full recap of the guys' picks, and all we ask each and every week, if you can take 2 seconds, hit that like button. We do keep an eye on the amount of likes. The more we get, the more it helps the content get out to a wider audience. Enjoy the weekend. If you're having a bet, please do so responsibly. Make sure it enhances that enjoyment. That's all it does, and we'll chat to you next week. Bye-bye.